Hi, I'm Danny. I'm with BlizzPlanet. I'm here with Sam and Lana from the Heroes of the Storm team. How are you guys feeling about BlizzCon so far?
You know, it's always nice to be here, and this year's especially was quite a good opening ceremony.
I agree. This is probably one of the best opening ceremonies there ever been. I mean,
Lots of good movies.
so
Wow.
much emotion too,
Lots of
you
good
know?
movies.
Yeah. So what about you? How do you feel?
Oh, I feel great. The opening ceremonies, of course, were fantastic, and very fortunate that we did the Heroes Community Gauntlet, Heroes Community-inspired game show earlier, and that went fantastic, so we're feeling good.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. So why don't each of you tell me a little bit about what your roles are on the Heroes team and what you do? So, I mean, people probably know, but at least you, but you might not have as many people realizing what you do. So give us a little bit of background and what your roles are. Okay.
Sure. Oh, sure. Hello, my name is Lana Bachynski. I'm an animator for the Heroes of the Storm team. I started a while back in 2012 as an intern, actually, and some of my first animations were like Malfurion's Victory and What is the Wonder Billy. I did that way long ago, and then now some of my most notable work is probably on Chromie and Dahaka, and most recently Junkrat.
Hello, my name is Sam. I'm the art director on Heroes of the Storm. Mostly my job involves creating a lot of the concepts for the skins, but my main job is to make sure that Heroes looks and acts and feels artistically and plays like a Blizzard game. So if we're working on something that's from StarCraft, you know, I need to make sure that it looks StarCraft. So I'll direct the artists. Oh, no. Terrans don't have gold armor. Protoss do. Things like that. It's actually quite easy, though, because the team that I'm on, I've worked with pretty much ever since I've been at Blizzard. And with new people like Lana, makes it pretty easy. You know, even the interns, now she's up in the ranks. She has her own game show.
We were under the wing.
She has her own game show, guys.
It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, we're going to turn this back over.
So in that regard, how do you guys go about creating the cinematic that you did? You're bringing in two very different themes, you know, in two different universes with the Overwatch and the Warcraft. Obviously, you have the Double Dragon theme, but kind of talk to me about how that comes together and making sure that those worlds work together and following the right themes.
Did you work a lot on the cinematic at all?
I did not work on the cinematic.
Okay, just wanted to, I didn't know if you had more insight.
No,
So one of the great things about Heroes of the Storm is that we get to play with all the toys in the Blizzard toy box. So Overwatch is the newest game that we sort of have. So we've been bringing in a lot of the Overwatch characters because, you know, we've had how many years? 20 years of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Diablo, and Overwatch is the newest one. So we wanted to bring the newest kid on the block in with some of the oldest kids on the block. So we thought that Hanzo, the dragon motif, Alexstrasza, the dragon motif, in the King's Crest realm, which has the Dragon Knight, just all work together. And it's actually a lot easier than you would think to blend all these properties together because they're all from Blizzard. You know, some of our products are a little bit more on the cartoony end. Like you'll see, even within a game, like Murky is a bit more cartoony than Arthas, right? Our Hearthstone has a lot of cartoony elements to it. But a lot of the elements that we have for all of our games are very similar, and that's all super strong characters, very cool, strong silhouettes, and it's a Blizzard game, so it has the colors, it has the dynamic poses, and the over-the-topness of a lot of our games. So we sort of just turn up the volume a little bit on, say, Diablo, and bring it out of the dark realism that Diablo has, so it matches a little bit more with StarCraft. Warcraft we bring down just a touch. Overwatch we just bring over a little bit more. So all of our games are in this same spectrum. So when we were working with these two characters, it was very easy to somehow make an archer be able to almost nearly defeat Alexstrasza. So it was and super fun too, just seeing, because in a normal world these characters would never meet. But in our world, in the Nexus, everybody gets to hang out and fight.
If I can add one thing. I think the trailer is also particularly successful because you have these two characters, the old and the new, from these two different worlds coming together. But for Heroes of the Storm fans in particular, there's the familiar touchstone of Dragonshire. So when you realize those two are there in that world together, you go, ah, I see. This feels familiar now.
So did you work on either of these heroes with their animations, or?
I was. Oh, sorry. There's a microphone.
Shout.
I can talk really loud. I was on part of the animation team. Matthew Parker and Mike Higgins did the animations for Alexstrasza, and I was fortunate enough to help with the reference for that. So, you know, Matt and Mike are two guys, and having the being able to get there and say, okay, let me help you feminine this up a little bit to have the little flair on some of her emotions. So I got to help out that way.
Okay. You mentioned you do a lot with the skins. We noticed that Alexstrasza has, I hate to call it a master skin, but it looks a little bit more similar to what a master skin would have been in, you know, Heroes 1.0. So can you talk a little bit about the choice to do something like that with her skin, a little bit more traditional?
Sure. Yeah, so we have Alexstrasza's sort of base skin, which harkens a little bit more to the standard Alexstrasza outfit from, you know, Warcraft. We added some elements because we really wanted to kind of push the queenly dragon queen vibe of her. And I can't remember the name of the master level skin you're saying, but we thought that by doing this one, this is actually the full sort of Heroes of the Storm interpretation of her. A lot of the problems that we have is all of the characters that we have in Heroes of the Storm are basically from other games. Right. So we really want to help identify them in our game by giving them sort of their own unique look. We haven't really done that much with the Overwatch characters because they are so new. Mm-hmm. We really want them to kind of be able to, you know, sit there and be themselves. But if you noticed with characters like Chromie, who is a WoW one, when we brought her into the Nexus, mm-hmm. Especially with her master skin, we gave her the super big cinnamon buns, right? Extra frosting, and a different outfit. So when we used her on the previous BlizzCon's poster, you would see that was the Heroes of the Storm representation. And same with Probius. We gave Probius, the Protoss probe, a lot more character than, say, a normal StarCraft one. So whenever you see this probe, you know that it's the Heroes of the Storm one. Characters like Elite Tauren Chieftain, that is uniquely Heroes of the Storm, so that's easy. But with the cast of our characters largely being from existing Blizzard heroes, we really want to make our own Heroes of the Storm spin on it that still feels like the character, mm-hmm. But also brings it to the Nexus in a new way. That so when people see it, they go, "That's Alexstrasza from Heroes, not Alexstrasza from World of Warcraft."
I just want to say, okay. I just want to say I love that you called him Elite Tauren Chieftain, because it feels like you're his father and he's in trouble. You know, you call him by his full name. His ETC, you know, Dad, everybody knows.
Speaking of Elite Tauren Chieftain, I mean, how much did you have to do with that? Because I feel like that's your baby from years and years ago. I mean, I remember seeing you guys play the band forever ago, and then when it first came out in, what was it, BC, when that became a WoW thing, right? When they were actually rocking out?
Yeah, the first one was in, I believe, the credits of Frozen Throne, that's right. Where we had Arthas rocking on his, Iceman guitar. But yeah, I can't remember the exact time it went into WoW, but we did. The story of it really quickly is that we had a band that did, it was the guys from the team doing cover songs. Yes, I had to sing a Coldplay song.
What song?
The whiny one. No, I'm just teasing. I think it was Yellow.
Can we get a little bit of that?
I don't remember it. Thank you. Look at the stars, see how there's something for you. You know it?
I know.
Bring it.
That's all.
But so we started doing some of our own unique songs, and then the idea came up that we could do maybe something for in the credits as something fun. We usually used to do fun little things in the credits, and the idea came up was maybe you guys can do a Warcraft inspired song. And so we were starting to, but we didn't have any time to write new music, so we just took an existing song that we had and we changed the lyrics to be Warcraft inspired. And that's the power of the Horde. And so that was our first one. And then people weren't offended by it enough, so we kept doing more and more songs. And we haven't played since the Metallica closed the show for us. Mm-hmm. But we want to definitely play again. But the Heroes of the Storm team, at the time was also the StarCraft team. So we started having 2 games that we were working on at the same time before BlizzCon, and that ate into practice time.
So I'm going to bring it back to music for a second, because I know you're a big metal guy, right? So
music.
what am I supposed to call it?
I've heard a lot worse. Thank you.
I really like metal as well. I used to be really big into like symphonic power metal, so it's been a while, but I know you're a big fan of that. So like Rhapsody, yeah, Rhapsody, Holy Thunder Force, yeah. Queen of the Dark Horizon, you know, stuff like
Rhapsody
that. So I realized that, and I was like, wow, that's weird. I guess it's just too confusing of a name. Anyway, why don't you talk to me about what are some of your big influences in music and getting into, you know, doing ETC as a band, and has any of that transpired and helped you in your game design in your career?
Okay, well, I'm going to leave out all the, you know, the classic metal bands that everyone loves, like the Sabbaths and all that. So what I've been listening to recently, I love the band Ghost from Sweden. I've been listening to a band called Visigoth. These are all like sort of newer bands, so you know, so old people like me may not know them as well. So I've also been listening to not necessarily a metal band, but Dropkick Murphys. I love those guys. Ailstorm is basically symphonic pirate metal. It's lots of guitar in it, but all the songs are, you know, pirate based and things like that. And the first band that I was ever really into, it may not be metal-ish, is Kiss. And when they stopped doing the makeup in, I think it was Lick It Up, in the album Lick It Up, for some reason, I stopped listening to them. I was, I don't know, 13 or 14. I've recently been listening to all the non-makeup Kiss albums, and they're great. I love it. I've been listening to that. And great story is the first concert I saw when I was 9 years old here at the Anaheim Convention Center. Plug, was Kiss on their Dynasty tour. The first concert with Elite Tauren Chieftain I ever played, first concert I ever played ever, was at the Anaheim Convention Center. That's cool. And the cool part was when I saw the show, I was telling Alan Adham, who was the president at the time of Blizzard, yeah, I saw Kiss at the Anaheim Convention Center. And Paul Stanley, the singer, slipped, and then Alan Adham finished the sentence and rolled over into a somersault and stood up. I go, yeah, so Alan Adham was at that concert too. So it's just all very Ouroboros here. We're all just, you know, nibbling on the serpent's tail together. That sounded gross. Let me rephrase that. It's all circular, circle of life. How's that?
So to bring it back around to the game. No, you don't need to be sorry. Oh, maybe to Josh.
I was saying sorry to the PR.
Lana. Not my bad.
How has music influenced your career and your job? You know, have you got to bring any of that into your designs, your artwork?
Well, one of the great stories is that whenever someone would start at Blizzard, at least on the art team, because we all work together, they would usually come from, you know, some town that you know, we hadn't been to, or, you know, they're from whatever, Tustin, we're from Orange or Anaheim. They would bring in some sort of local bands or just bands we never heard of, or someone like, you know, Lana coming from Canada. They would bring their musics with them, and all around the world, all these people who are joining our team bring in movies, comic books, music that we've never heard of. You know, nowadays it's a lot easier, internet. Right. But back then, that was like, oh my God, who is this band? This band, you know, is from Sweden. Oh my God, how do you know it? And so all this metal music just sort of was going around the bullpens, and you would hear these, you know, same sort of songs going through, and then there'd be some new music. And whenever you see, you know, hear the heavy music on, you could usually see someone working on something that's Undead or the Horde or something like that, or you know, the symphonic power metal. You see, you know, harkens more to that sort of alliance and power and glory and shining armor and triumph and all that. So, Triumph actually is from Canada, the band. Oh. Yeah. That's circle of life. Circle of life.
We're all connected.
But you know, I think music is always influential to anyone, whether it's metal or any kind of music. It's you know, as they say, the soundtrack to our lives. We have the soundtrack to our games that we also listen to when we're creating art. So you know, put on some old StarCraft 1 music when you're working on StarCraft 2. It's like just inspires you.
What about you, Lana? Music. What other things do you do to get inspiration for what you do in your job?
Well, I think music's actually a great one. In particular, I'll just talk about music and ETC, the band, ETC, the character in the game. ETC was the first hero I had the opportunity to animate in full. I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago. I did. The more you know. I was really excited to work on it, and for me, and I'm starting to animate a hero, and I'm going through and I'm getting poses in, and just trying to figure out like how does this character stand when they're relaxed? How does this character stand when they're in combat? You know, what is this going to be like? I often try and listen to the music that I think that character would listen to. So I actually listened to Tauren Chieftain for like 6 weeks or something like that while I was animating ETC. His dance actually lines up with, I think, I Am Murloc. Like if you actually play the two together, the beat should line up together. I'm pretty sure.
Check that out back and forth.
Yeah. And, you know, for all the characters, ETC has the one ability Mosh Pit that forces every other character in the game, minions, mercs, other heroes, to dance for 5 seconds. Forces them to dance for 5 seconds. So it is actually a part of gameplay that every character has to have a dance. It's also a nice little bit of, I just cut a sweet takedown and you can dance in lane if you want. But music is a huge thing. So probably in my saved library, you know, on social media, all the videos I save are of different dances, different musics, and different things that I see, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be great for the next character I'm working on.
Didn't you do a bunch of the Zerg dances too for StarCraft?
I did.
That's right.
So when I was an intern, I was working on Heroes. It wasn't Heroes yet, way back, and I was working on Heart of the Swarm, and I did the dances for the Warhound, which I think never went out, but he did the Charleston. I know, it was sad, but it was my favorite dance I did. And then the Roach did this dance. I can't even remember it. I know what the dance was, but I forget the video. And I did another one. I did a whole bunch of dances. That was like my intern thing. Was I did all the Zerg dances.
You were kind of the dancing queen.
I don't. You are the dancing queen, young and sweet. That's my karaoke song. I'm not gonna get there.
Right.
That was awesome. Can you talk about what Hanzo and Alexstrasza's dances are, and then also how do you go about choosing what dances a character gets?
Oh, that is a really good question. Hanzo's dance, I believe, is a Japanese fisherman's dance, and the same dance that he does in Overwatch. It's literally the same dance further along in the choreography. So if you play Hanzo's dance from Overwatch, it's like in Heroes, he's never stopping dancing. He's just continuing to dance. So it's a Japanese fisherman's dance. And Alexstrasza has something that I believe had no particular reference to it, but the way that the animation team approached her is she's a bit of a diva. And so she has a bit of a diva dance, both in her elf form and in her dragon form. She rocks out a little. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're both fantastic. Can you demonstrate? I kind of did. It's like.
So, how do you choose other characters? Like, how do you? What do you guys do to figure out what character gets a dance? Especially for somebody. So obviously Hanzo had that dance before, but somebody that wouldn't maybe have an existing dance in a game.
For sure. So that's really fun. Sometimes you see a dance and it pops up in a pop culture in some way and it hits you and you're like, I don't know when I'm going to use it, but I'm going to use it. That's that saved video backlog that I have. And sometimes you see the character and you're like, I don't know. And we'll convene with all the animators and sometimes effects artists and really anybody who has an opinion on the dances. We'll say, what do you guys think? This is the character. What's going on here? And everybody will pitch it. I remember Sylvanas was really difficult to figure out. And in the end, we went with the reference to the end of Beetlejuice, where she's floating up in the air and she's doing her little thing. But other ones, very easy. Junkrat, which I recently did. I think the week before 2 weeks into Junkrat, this boy, this kid, you could say, with a backpack showed up on SNL and he became an overnight sensation. And I was starting Junkrat and I go, that looks like a kid with a backpack to me. And so that was pretty easy.
Awesome. All right, let's go back, I guess, to Alexstrasza. So obviously she's a dragon, and so that's probably a lot different to animate than any other characters. I know we have Chromie, but now you have her actually, in game acting as a dragon. So can you talk about some of the challenges of the animation with that, and how did that have any influence on some of the camera changes as well to kind of give more of a field of view, or not related at all?
The camera changes unrelated. Alexstrasza in dragon form, the biggest challenge is she's a big dragon. She's out there in all of her might. And as such, the way that moving around the space works, it's hard to get that dragon to turn in a way that doesn't feel weird. So because our game is all about responsive, it's about the gameplay. You know, it's about the strategy and the combat first. Gameplay first, gotta happen. A lot of the characters, they turn on a dime. That's it. You go the other direction, boom, they're facing the other way. But when you have a character that's 4 inches on the screen and you the other way immediately, it's like, ugh.
Animators get upset about that.
Looks real broken.
Just flip like that.
Have you try and do it and you tell me if you can. No, you can't. Impossible. And so we actually have new turning tech. It's very exciting as a dweeby animator thing. Turning tech, it's amazing, but for real. So and you start turning your mouse, her whole body will turn. She will actually face the direction that you're going. And she looks smooth. She's navigating around terrain, and you can definitely see the places where a hero can't like accidentally tuck inside of her because she's really bobbing and weaving, and it looks amazing. But the size, the scale of her was definitely the most difficult thing.
What about Hanzo? Obviously, he's a very agile hero, right? So, I mean, how does he compare? And was he, since you guys already did Genji, was it easy to animate Hanzo in a similar fashion, or were there other challenges just because of how agile he is?
So I think Hanzo ended up being really fun because of how agile he is. Michael Cuevas did a really fantastic job with some of those animations. And first and foremost, you have to make him feel like Overwatch. You know, people who've played all the Hanzo mains from Overwatch got to come into Heroes and say, yep, this is my guy. He has to move the same, feel the same, but from a dramatically different camera. So that's probably the largest struggle there, is making the movements readable and feel good from our isometric top-down perspective. But the nimbleness to him ended up being amazing. He has his trait, which I can't think of the name of right now, but he runs up to terrain and he launches over it. And the poses are actually crazy to make it feel like he's really like grabbed a hold and leapt over. And so that ended up being one of the more fun things rather than more challenging. Makes him feel very, very unique.
I noticed there's some new sprays that kind of have like they reminded me of Cuphead, like the old style animation. So can you guys talk about that at all? Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Well, so with the sprays, Blizzard kind of has its own style, right? We don't want to do everything that style for sprays. We want to have it something that's kind of fun and interesting. So if you look at our sprays, we have a wide variety. Some are more, detailed. Some are more silly. Some are, based off of some Overwatch stuff. A lot of them are some of our more standard Blizzard stuff. But those ones we thought just felt like old classic sort of Disney animation, old Popeye animations. You know what I mean? So for sprays and even portraits, you can expect a lot more variety. Like, I don't know if you've noticed some of our portraits, we have some that are very cartoony, and they just feel like something that might have been from a Saturday morning cartoon or something like that. We have some that are really detailed and realistic looking. And, we have some that are more silly, some that are just more of the standard classic, this is the Illidan that from, Legion. So we try to get a variety. So when you find these where you unlock them, you're like, oh, cool, I didn't know I was going to get that. If it was all sort of the same style, it would just be like, okay, yeah, I've seen that. So we try to just come up with some fresh things. Like a lot of the summer stuff we did seemed very 80s, what was the artist? No, not Pat Nagel. That's the guy that works with us. I think it's the artist Nagel that has the very the sort of the white face Duran Duran album cover one. But a lot of the style was like that we did for that because it felt very just fun. So, did you have anything? Or
I guess just for a game like Heroes, where you're already pulling from these different universes that have different flavors, it only makes sense that we're trying to push so many different flavors in the artistic style, especially places where we can. It's not affecting gameplay. It's just beautiful pieces of art that you get to use to troll people in lane.
All right, I know we're running close on
their experience.
Enhance the gameplay experience.
All right, so I know we're basically out of time. So just tell me, what's your favorite hero that you guys have worked on, and what's your main that you play the most of?
I don't really have a main. I tend to just go with by the time that we this is going to sound really arrogant, sorry. Whenever we announce a new hero, that's so old. You know, I'm playing ones at work that are unannounced, you know. I play the newest stuff, right? No, I'm just teasing. I tend to really enjoy the tanks. Okay. And I love the assassin types. But I also like specialists. Specialists are probably my favorite. Lately, I've been going through because some of the, in the loot boxes, I'll get a skin. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go play Zul now for a while. Oh, I'm like this morning, I was playing Gazlo. And it's like, oh, I'm really close to leveling him up for a loot box. Okay, let's play him. I've been playing a lot of the heroes that are getting close to leveling up so I can start getting some loot boxes. I love that feature to kind of like give you the nudge of who you should that's the thing. It's like I don't have a favorite. I could always say characters like Stitches, Mirrodin, etc. I love playing, but I rarely play them because I'm playing whatever's, kind of around. Oh, I just got a new hero. Great. I'm going to play that one. But not support. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, okay. Stay out of my drafts. Okay.
Go ahead. Charge that tower.
The hero that I was most fond of working on was probably Dahaka. I went to school originally when I started animating to animate monsters. I finally got to animate a big primal Zerg monster guy and make him nasty and amazing. So I really loved working on him. And as far as who I play, I have a level 70 Kerrigan, so she's probably my my go-to.
Which skin do you like best?
I mean, Queen of Ghosts, obviously. The one I animated. Whichever one matches the team, you got to get the Skinergy, dog. Yeah, beauty.
Yo.
Lana out.
Well, thanks, guys. This was probably one of the most fun interviews I've ever had. So thanks so much. You guys are awesome.
I am Hanzo Shimada. ムーが我が敵を食らう